And so we painted the face of God with the face of our parents or fathers or abusers or something. And we end up with theology that is Western rationalistic, deity at a distance, disapproving and looking for an excuse to punish.
You could condemn many of the things that I've done in my life and continue to do, in all likelihood, that are wrong. But that doesn't mean that you have the right to condemn me and not love me. You have to love me. It's what you're called to do.
I gotta tell you, I was completely surprised by two things: the power of an apology and the willingness of people to engage. I think the apology created the foundation for the conversation.
Lastly, I guess, although the list could be numerous, I want to apologize for my own personal sins of partaking in gay jokes, laughing at them, telling them myself, for being allowing fear to drive me rather than faith, for being put off, being offended in ways that Jesus would not want me to be, in ways that are selfish and hurtful to others, frankly hurtful to others, when Jesus is really clear about how he asks for me to love one another. And I apologize for not doing that, for not loving you the way that I should.
I accept your apology, and I want to say thank you for speaking up, because I'm tired of people not speaking up anymore.
We should all apologize for all the things that we've done and thought and said, and just move on from there.
It's very touching, the apology. I'm not sure that I'm worthy of receiving the apology. That's the hard thing.
That's very nice, and I forgive you, and thank you. And I wish that there were more people who would think it all like that.
Thank you so much for speaking this to me. I appreciate hearing these words. It does a lot to heal my heart. I was just thinking the same thing. How could Jesus' followers hate so much? And so it's lovely to hear this from you and know that you don't always hate us.
Turns out that tsunami never showed up, but I did peek a few times, though mostly I was looking for nuns in clown makeup. I wanted to tell them I was friends with Sister Mary Timothy. Now, I don't know what you think of Tim, but would it make a difference to you to learn that his mother died when he was 4? His dad and stepmother were habitual drug users, and the first time he had sex at age 16, he contracted HIV. Today I call Timmy my friend. He reminds me that life and people are complicated. Compassion should be given and not earned, and that everyone has a rest of the story.
When I was in high school, there was this boy named Roger, and he was outed. A gay kid, and his homosexual orientation became known. West Philadelphia High was a huge and tough inner-city school. You can imagine what we did to this kid some 50 years ago when ignorance prevailed on this issue. We humiliated this kid at every turn. On Fridays, after phys ed, when all the other kids would go into the shower, Roger wouldn't go in with us. He was afraid to. When he took his turn, we waited for him with our wet towels, and when he came out, we would whip them and sting his little body. I wasn't there the day that they took Roger and dragged him into that shower room and shoved him into the corner. And while he yelled and screamed for mercy, 5 guys urinated all over him. I wasn't there when that happened. He went home. He went to bed at about 10 o'clock. They say it was about 2 o'clock in the morning that Roger went down to the basement of his house and he hung himself. And I knew I wasn't a Christian, because if I was a Christian, I would have been Roger's friend. You don't have to legitimate somebody's lifestyle in order to love that person, to be brother or sister to that person, and to stand up for that person.
We've all judged and hated, feared. Who are we going to be in this life? And when are we going to start being it?
Say we watched the tape, we were wrong, we're going to give that one.
This is Sheila Hamilton, news director at Portland rock station Kink FM. And she recently traveled to Ethiopia with Christian relief organization World Vision in an effort to find sponsorship for 400 AIDS orphans. This was the first time World Vision had ever paired up with a secular rock station.
Apparently World Vision has partnered with Christian radio stations like this for decades, and Christian listeners are well aware of being asked to help in these kinds of fundraisers. And they'd never done it with secular radio because they didn't think secular listeners would care. And I guess I find that at the same time appalling and fascinating, because here I was looking for a way to get involved with Africa. I don't go to church on Sunday morning. I'm not a big Bible reader, but I have values and morals, and I care about what's happening on the other side of the world.
And while World Vision had been skeptical of the secular media, Sheila was skeptical of the Christian world.
My greatest fear, I think, was that I would go into these camps where children were dying of AIDS, and that I would see Christians proselytizing.
And then what did you actually see once you got there?
Mostly what we saw was their great work. We saw them delivering bags of seeds. We saw them building wells, bringing incredible farming capacity to those people that have never in their lives seen anything beyond a hoe. We went over there with the idea of, like, if we could get 400 of these children that we meet sponsored, if we could do that, it would have been wildly successful. And I thought, how in the world do you get a soccer mom who was worried about public schools and who is worried about her taxes to care about a place on the other side of the world? And they're beautiful kids. I mean, they're absolutely beautiful. And I was thinking about how many of them, number one, hadn't had breakfast. How many of them probably didn't get a square meal. And yet they had so much joy. I brought out these little SpongeBob SquarePants stickers, and you know, they're corny little stickers, but they're clamoring in line for a chance to get this little sticker. And because their clothes were so filthy that, you know, when you press it against them, it would fall off. And so they would pick it up out of the dirt, and all day long you would see little kids holding this sticker to their chest because they were so thrilled to have something that meant, you know, I have this little piece of America.
And I thought it was really interesting that while in Africa, Sheila experienced how powerful a demonstration of true love can be.
Seeing the work is so profound, because you see people wiping flies from the eyes of these babies, and you see them dressing wounds from these infants who have exposed sores because they were given AIDS by their mother. And you know, that work is so, it's so meaningful. You know, it's just like the kind of work that I don't know who else steps forward to do it.
So those volunteers you met, did they tell you why they were there?
Oh yeah, they know very well. It's Christ's work. We love Christ. This is what he'd want us to do. We're living in his vision, in his eyes, you know.
The success of the Kink and World Vision pairing proved again, you don't have to agree on everything to work together to help others.
And we brought the interviews back, and the phone started ringing, and by the end of the day, we had 800 people that had stepped forward and said, we'll do this.
That's not bad for a heathen rock and roll station.
Well, we're still heathen, but you know, we do care about other people's needs.
For lots of Americans, all they know about Christians they get from TV. In Ethiopia, things are a little different.
There are no satellites, there's no newspaper, there's no radio. I didn't see a single television set the entire time I was in any of these camps. And so when you ask them what they know about Americans, they know only World Vision. They know only of good work. They know only of benevolence. They know only of this great spirit of these people who have come to help them. So we've got pretty good PR going on there in terms of, like, you know, a national foreign policy. I can get behind that.
We can talk all day and argue all night and get nowhere. But the good news is, and I don't care what you believe or don't believe, loving kindness actually works. Every Friday night in Portland, under the Burnside Bridge in Old Town, Christians flood in from all over the state to meet the basic needs of the city's homeless. Night Strike has been going on for 6 years, but I didn't find it till I was ready to see.
Tonight we have about 70 volunteers.